Think about the difference between making furniture in a woodshop and running a furniture factory. In a woodshop, you can correct a mistake as it happens. In a factory, automation will replicate that mistake at scale everywhere before you can catch it. So you have to deal with problems differently. That's the shift that we're seeing right now with AI. We're moving from using an AI as a tool that will help me with my work to a tool I'm delegating a series of work to. And most organizations have no roadmap for making that transition safely. That's what this series is about. The industry conversation about AI is dominated by hype. Every week, there's a new model, new benchmark, new promise that everything is about to change. The reality, however, from Gallup's workforce survey data in 2025, is only about 10% of workers are using AI daily in the work they do, not thought partnership, but actually doing tasks. Roughly a quarter use it at least once a week. Even in knowledge-heavy industries like tech and finance, fewer than half are using it regularly. 40% of employees say their organization hasn't implemented AI at all, while only 9% feel very comfortable using the tools. Adoption's growing, but structured skill usage remains rare. Most people don't know how to progress from casual experimentation to trustworthy, repeatable use. The technology is getting exponentially more expensive, but not exponentially better. The engineering constraints are real. Power, chip capacity, data, latency. According to the Epoch AI reporting, we need 10,000 times the compute used to train GPT-4 by 2030. Chip manufacturing could support about 50,000 times the capacity of the GPT-4 training, but the power constraint is most likely to bind first. Beyond all of that, a latency wall in GPU communication sets hard limits on how large training clusters can scale, capping even the most ambitious training runs to well below because of the interconnect that physics allows. What this means for you is that you can stop waiting for the models to reach near perfection and get it right on its own, and start by building systems that protect for inevitable failures and capture and correct errors rather than hoping for perfection. Improving has developed a maturity model that we call the trust evolution in AI. It maps 8 stages of AI adoption and is organized into 3 waves. Wave 1 covers stage 1 and stage 2, from no AI usage in the work you do to off-the-shelf usage in stage 2. This is where most people are today. You're either not using AI to do tasks at all, or you're using off-the-shelf tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude as assistants, while the human does most of the work and AI advises or helps soften the edges. Wave 2, which is process-centric, covers stage 3 task agents and stage 4 workflow agents. This is where AI starts doing work, and you'll be held accountable for the work output. You define tasks as discrete boxes in the workflow, and you build agents with constraints and rules, we call them opinions, processes, and standards, and then you compose those task agents into coordinated workflows with governance and quality checks. This is the hardest transition from stage 2 to stage 3. This is where the autonomy inflection point lives. And then wave 3, which is mostly forward-looking, is agentic operations that covers delegation at stage 5 through stage 8 orchestration. This is where humans shift from doing work to directing, coordinating, and orchestrating. AI agents work outside the primary tools that an individual would use, and you end up managing teams of agents in parallel. And eventually, the orchestrator is assigning work to coordination agents and running entire teams or departments of AI agents that are helping to accomplish the middle 80% of the work. The humans at that point are setting goals, reviewing outcomes, and deciding strategy and intent for the delivery. Here are the 8 stages by name. Stage 1, zero AI. You're not using AI in your work at all. Stage 2, off the shelf, using GPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude as advisors, while the human still does most of the work. Stage 3, task agents. AI executes a single defined task independently, and then the human reviews it. Where stage 4, workflow agents show up. AI coordinates multiple task agents across a workflow with governance and quality. Stage 5 is delegation. Agents move outside the tools where you do work. You're receiving status and output only. In stage 6, we move to coordination, where we've got multiple agents working simultaneously on items, and our work becomes managing the isolation, merging, and integration of that work. In stage 7, supervise, the AI orchestrator is assigning work to agents, managing pipelines, and escalating to human input for decisions or conflict only. And then in stage 8 orchestration, end-to-end operations, where the human is actually only seeing things that the orchestrator couldn't answer because of the context and awareness of those processes. As you progress through these stages, the role fundamentally changes. The role of the human fundamentally changes. At stage 1 and 2, we're still the doer. AI's helping, but we're still doing the work. At stage 3 and 4, we move into a reviewer, manager, and performance feedback. AI's drafting, we're reviewing and improving. At stage 5 and 6, you're a director. You direct, express intent and strategy, AI executes. And then at stages 7 and 8, you're the agentic operator. You're orchestrating swarms of agents and setting strategic directions and overseeing huge amounts of work being produced. Your value is going to shift from doing work to directing outcomes. And I won't sugarcoat this. It's a psychological challenge. People tie their identity to, I am a software engineer versus I do software engineering. When you tie your identity to the activity, AI becomes a threat. When you tie it to the outcome, AI becomes an amplifier. Now, something to talk about here is not every role or function needs to reach stage 8. The model Improving uses has a framework for deciding where we go based on 2 dimensions: task volume, how much of the thing do we need to do, and precision required. Do I need excellence in this work, or do I need average in this work? Now, high volume, low precision work, expense reports, routine communication, data entry, this is where things like full autonomy in stage 7 and 8 make sense. Now, if I have high volume but high precision, like invoice processing, quality inspections, consulting, directed autonomy in stages 5 and 6 with human oversight at key gates makes a lot more sense. Low volume, high precision work. This is complex engineering decisions, compliance reviews. You'll see supervised agents that are doing stage 3 and stage 4 task and workflows, but the human's still doing a deep review and sign off. Low volume, low precision work, one-off decisions, those kind of things. Yeah, human-led stage 1 or stage 2 where it's not repeatable and I don't need a good average answer from a general tool is fine. The most important thing I can tell you about the model, you can't skip steps. Each stage builds trust, governance, muscle memory, and employee learning that's needed for the next step. When you use AI at stage 2, you're learning how it fails, where it fails, how often, what tasks it's good at. That knowledge is essential for capturing stage 3 agents because it tells you which tasks are safe to hand to an agent and what guidance that agent's going to need to be successful. Now, when you move from that into building stage 4 governance agents, you create the safety infrastructure that makes that reasonable, but also it's what makes stage 5 possible. Because when I can no longer see the work happening, I have to trust that my catch systems for errors and corrections are going to work correctly. In this series, we're going to walk through each transition, what changes in your tools, your process, your mindset, and your organization. Let's get started.